Joining me now to discuss this further is Republican Kentucky Congressman and the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer. Congressman, such a pleasure to have you on this show, and a really important time to have you on the show, right? When we're talking about this government shutdown, you recently took to X saying, quote, "Oversight Democrats are completely unhinged. They shut down the government to give free health care to illegal immigrants. Now they're doubling down with a so-called master ICE tracker." You go on to say that this will jeopardize public safety. There are some very real concerns there that we hear you saying, but I think a lot of the American people are saying, hey, man, we're on day 25. People are losing money right now. Some are being concerned that they could lose SNAP benefits and unable to put food on the table if this goes another week. I know that's 600,000 people, in your state. Is there anything that you and Republicans are willing to compromise with Democrats on to get us to a place where the government can function again?
Well, first of all, I think there is a compromise, and the compromise is the continuing resolution. Look, I would vote to make significantly more cuts to the federal budget. However, we couldn't get that bill through the Senate. We couldn't get that bill probably through the House. There are Democrats that want to spend, obviously, a lot more money. When you have a group of members that want to spend less, and that's where I would throw myself, a group of members who want to spend more, and that's, most Democrats and a lot of Republicans, then the compromise is to spend the same level. And that's what a continuing resolution is. So I would argue the continuing resolution is the compromise, and that's the same vehicle that we've used to compromise in the past when members of Congress couldn't agree on whether to spend more money or spend less money. The compromise was always a continuing resolution. This is the compromise that Democrats have always voted for. If Republicans ever suggested they weren't going to vote for the continuing resolution because they wanted to spend less money, and when Republicans would either shut the government down or threaten to shut the government down, Democrats were outraged. We're simply trying to govern and keep the government open, even though a lot of us would like to spend less money. But again, it's not good enough for the Democrats. So I think the Democrats have had opportunities to compromise. They voted several times in the Senate. They have an opportunity to at least pay the military and essential government workers. They balked on that this week. So I feel like Republicans have made the compromise. It's the Democrats who want to keep the government shut down. They think they're scoring political points with the public. And I think people in America are sick and tired of Congress's inability to govern. And I think most people realize this is a Democrat government shutdown. I think I agree 100% there. I think people across the country, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, at this point, day 25, they seem to be deaf to the blame game. They just want action. They want the government to resume. Their taxes haven't stopped as we've had this government shut down, but their paychecks are not coming in. I want to play for you something that Senate Minority Leader Democrat Chuck Schumer had to say, and then get your response on the other side.
Donald Trump would literally rather fly to another country than meet with Democrats to negotiate on health care, because he knows the American people are on one side of the issue and his base, his right-wing MAGA base, is on the other. He's afraid to touch the issue. So he does his version of Johnson's shutting down the House. He flies away.
Why isn't the leader of the Republican Party meeting with Democrats to end this shutdown one way or another? Right now it just seems like everyone's holding their breath, and the American people are going to be the ones to pass out before Congress actually does something here.
I think the president is doing exactly what President Obama did and what President Biden did. He's laying out a continuing resolution. That is the compromise. The Democrats rejected that compromise. They want more. And I think the president is frustrated dealing with the Democrats. The Democrats claim their objection is over health care, over, trying to continue to prop up Obamacare. Republicans have always voted against Obamacare. We are seeing now that Obamacare was never going to be able to succeed. Obamacare is so heavily subsidized, and the Democrats want to keep throwing more money at it. And here's the problem with Obamacare. If you're on Obamacare, if you're on Medicaid, that's free health care. That's a great deal for you. If you're qualified for the Obamacare subsidies, that's a great deal for you. But if you're the the other half of America and you're having to pay for that free health care and pay for those health care subsidies, then your health care rates are going up even more. So we've got a health care crisis in America. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they're not wanting to address that crisis. They're just wanting to continue to make the other half of America subsidize.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.